File, new project. We're going to be building Windows Phone application, and we're going to select blank application for template. I'm going to click OK. Your application must declare that it will be using the microphone capability. Alright, to do that, you have to go to the application manifest file here, select capabilities, select microphone, save and close. That's one thing out of the way. The second requirement is your application must provide voice command definitions, which means you have to tell what commands will your application be handling and what to call your application. To do that, we're going to add a voice command definition file here in the assets. You can add it anywhere you like, but I am going to add in the assets folder. Right click, add, new item, select voice command definition, name whatever you like. I'm going to name VCD, and I'm going to click add. Okay, this comes with some samples. I don't care about samples, so we're just going to remove those. We're going to leave the tab one and start from the top and remove stuff we don't need as we get to them. The first line is command prefix. This is the name of your application. You would like your application to have a unique name. This name does not have to be the name of your application as it's listed in the store. This name can be anything you like, but you want this to be unique name. So let's try to be unique here and name this computer. The second line here is the example of your commands. What commands will your application be expecting? Our application will be giving information about alien races from Star Trek. We expect something like, who are the Borg? We expect something like that. Okay, this is just one example of the commands. This will be listed when your application shows up in the voice list, applications that are voice capable. Okay, the second line, the second area is the command. You might have multiple commands, but you have to provide a name for each command so you know which command activated your application. So give it a name that will be unique to each command. Okay, this will be races, so we're going to say races. And this we need another example here. You can use the same, or you can have different name if you like. Let's just say it's the same thing. We can change this who are the Breen or who are the Bajorans, something like that. But we're going to leave it the same way. So the second line is, the line after that one is what you will be listening for. We will be listening for who are the, and then we care about whatever comes after that. One application is called computer, and the user says who are the, we care about whatever comes after that. Let's just come over here, listen for, we'll say we're going to listen for who are the, and whatever comes after that will be, we're going to put in the curly braces here. We're going to say it will be the race. That's, consider that as a variable. So we care about anything that comes after who are the. That's what we expect to handle in the application. All right. We want to also make this word the optional. To do that, you have to put in square brackets. That makes this word optional word. So the user can say who are Borg, or the user can say who are the Borg. All right, let's get rid of this line also. We don't need that. We're only going to start with one command. And the feedback section here is, what will you say back to the user when they say, computer, who are the Borg? You want to say something back, right? Looking for Borg or something like that? Yeah, you can say that if you like. Looking for race here. I'll just say that. So if the user says, computer, who are the Borg? Your feedback would be looking for Borg. Let's make that even interesting. Let's say it's going to be looking for the Borg. In the phrase section, we only going to need one subject here. Also, the phrase label will be raised, and the scenario will be, you can name it whatever you like. You have to make sense. So for us, it will make sense. We say race info scenario. If we had multiple scenarios, then you will have other scenarios. We completed this creation of the voice command definition. We gave application a name, we show an example of the commands the application expects. We gave it a command name, also another example, and then what we're going to be listening for, we added optional word. So we give the user feedback, and let's change the subject also here to race. Okay, so now that's that. We save it. Next thing we have to do is we have to register this voice command definition file. Okay, for the VCD installation, let's create a helper method that will help us install the VCD file. To do that, first we will add a folder here, and we're gonna name it. Right click on the project, add a new folder. You're gonna say this folder will be helpers, and then I'm gonna right click the same folder we just created, and we're gonna add a new class. This class, it will help us install the VCD file, so let's name it VCD helper. Okay, first we'll make this class public, and we're gonna add a method here. It's gonna be a public method, and it's gonna return nothing, and we're gonna name it install VCD, and arguments string path. So you pass the file path, and then we're going to install that. So first thing we're going to do here is we're going to turn the string here into URI. So let's say URI VCD URI equals to new URI, and the string is the file path, and URI kind will be absolute. Okay, so all we did was we took the string and we made it into URI. Next is, now we have the URI, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to get the file itself from the application. Okay, to do that we're going to say storage file. We're going to need using statement windows.storage. We're going to name this file equals to storage file dot get from application URI sync, and we're going to pass the VCD URI we just created. Cool. Alright, there's another tab. Okay, we have to await for this since it's a synchronous method here, and we have to mark our method async before we can await anything. Cool. So now we have the file. Next thing we have to do is we have to install the file. Okay, so we're gonna say here voice command manager using media Windows media that speech recognition that install command sets from the storage file async, and we're gonna give the file, and that's that. We wanted to wait for this, so we're gonna say await for this asynchronous method. Cool. We're also gonna wait for the method to do its work here. So let's, instead of void, let's say this will be a task. So this method can be available on the other end when we call it. Cool. So when we don't succeed, we want to be able to handle that. So let's just select everything here, right click and surround with try. We're gonna surround it with try catch. So here in exception, what we're gonna do is we're gonna say message dialog. Maybe I should use the whole fully qualified name UI dot pop-ups dot message dialogs. Message equals to, I don't have room for everything, so I'm just gonna copy this piece and add a using statement here for Windows UI dot pop-ups. Okay, and now I don't have to use the fully qualified name. Equals to new. You're gonna say oops problem installing VCD file. And then we're gonna also add the error here, error message. So we're gonna say ex that message, and that's that. After that, then we're gonna have to show that message dot show async. Okay, so if we succeed, we succeed. The file register, everything will be gravy. If we fail, we're just going to pop up this message says, oops, problem installing VZD file. Cool. Let's save everything and close this guy. And now let's go to, we have to call that method from application.cs on launch. So before we call, let's just get our string of the file location. So this is the folder assets and VZD.xml. So that will be this file we're referring to. Okay. So on launch, let's go here somewhere and let's new up the VZD class we created. So it was VZD, VZD helper, I think. Helper, I think. So let's say, oh, okay, we have to add a using statement to that folder. We're gonna say VCDH equals to new of it. Now we're gonna say VCDH dot install VCD. We're gonna pass this file name here. This is string. And we're gonna want to wait this guy. So let's just say await. And before we can say await, we have to mark our method as asynchronous. And everything looks gravy. Now that's that. Let's save that. First, we say our application needs to use a microphone. Second, we create a VZD. Third, we install the VZD file. Next step is handle uCommands. Okay, now the application can be activated by voice as well as clicking on the application title from the start screen. It's your responsibility to figure out if the application was activated by voice and take the proper steps. To do that, we have to go to the onActivated method. It's not here yet, so let's add that. Let's override that. OnActivated. So the activation information is in this argument. We can figure out if it was voice or not. So say if args.kind equals to activation kind at voice command. So if this is true, we can be confident that the application was activated by voice. And here now we can get the information about the activation command. To do that, we have to convert this I activated event args to voice command activated event args. Okay, so let's do that. Let's say voice command activate event args vc args, let's call that. We're gonna say equals to args, and then we're gonna convert that to voice command activate event args. Okay, so now we have the activation information here. The next step we need is to find out what command was it. We know it was voice command, but what command was it? When I say what command, I mean, was it this command, races, or other commands? We only have one now, but in case you have more than one. So let's say voice command name here. We're gonna say that one equals to vc args dot results dot rule path, and we're gonna take the first one from there. Okay, so this will be our command name. In our case, it will be races, but if you have more than one, it will be the correct one. Okay, so let's switch this voice command name and take the proper step for each case. So we're gonna switch to voice command name here, and we're gonna add a case here. We're gonna say case races. Let's break. So if it's races, let's terminate this line. For races, we want to navigate to the main page on our case. So before we can navigate to any page, we need a frame, because we don't have a frame here in this one activated yet, and we don't have anything outside here. We don't want to put it out there. So let's create a frame here. We're gonna say frame. We're gonna call it root frame. equals to window dot current dot content as frame. Okay, now we have a frame, but we don't know if this frame is null or not. So let's check that first. Let's say if root frame is null, then we want to create a new frame for the root frame. So we say root frame equals to new frame. All right, not pew but new. Okay, now we can set the content to the frame also. So we're gonna say, because the content is null, if this is null then this was null, right? So we don't want that to be null. So we're gonna say window.current.content now equals to root frame. Okay, we also have to make sure that the current window is the active one. So we're gonna say window.current.active. all right, so everything is out of the way now. We can navigate away from here. So we're gonna say root frame that navigate type of, we're gonna go to the main page since that's the only thing we have now, and then we're gonna pass the voice command args information here. We're gonna say vc args dot result. Cool. So now we have everything. It looks all set. Although we're not taking any actions on the other end yet, we can test our work. So let's do that. Before we run the application, we're going to place a few breakpoints here in the unactivated. One to see the command name, another one to see the activation kind, and we're going to place another one here in the on launch before we register the voice command definition file. Okay, I'm using project my screen application here, and I'm running onto the device. Okay, I'm gonna run it now. First, it's gonna go try to register the voice command definition file right here. So that's the file we set to assets vcd.xml. That's the file that's in here. Okay, let's continue. So our other code will not run now because we were not activated by voice, right? So I'm gonna try the voice now. Computer, who are the Klingons?
Looking for the Klingons.
So that looking for the Klingons came from the feedback from the voice command definition here. Looking for the placeholder here, whatever the race was. So that race came from. So let's continue now. So next, the voice command name is racist, and that came from the command name here. All right. Let's go back here. Since this is racist, it's going to fall into this case, and it's going to navigate to the main page, passing the voice command activate event args results that we care about. So let's go to the main page and place a breakpoint here and make sure our parameter are passed to this page. I'm going to continue now. Here, let's look at the parameter that was passed from the app.xaml.cs page. So let's go to the parameter here. Oops, that was not the parameter. Right here. So this is the whole thing that I said, who are the Klingons, right? So now we're happy with our parameter that we passed from the other page is here. Okay, so next what we're going to do is we're going to process that information. So let's stop that. First, let's check the parameter for null or empty. We're going to remove the comment here. So we're going to say if e that, first let's say if it's not string that null or empty, e that parameter that to string. So we know it's not empty or null now. Next, we're going to check if this is new navigation. We only want to take action on this new navigation. The navigation mode is new because when your application when you gets activated by voice, is going to be a new navigation. That's where you want to take action. Okay, so say navigation mode. Navigation mode that new. So now we know it's new. Then now we can get the parameter and convert it to speech recognition results. So let's say var results here. Let's take that parameter as speech recognition results, and we need a using statement Windows Media Speech Recognition. And then we can terminate this line. Okay, now we have the results. Second thing we have to do is we have to get what the user wanted to know, and we have to know the command type. So let's do that. If you recall this, the information we care about is held in here, race. Okay, in our voice command definition file, we want to get that information out. To do that, the information is in here. So let's create a method first. Maybe let's call the method first. Handle speech. Okay, and this we're gonna pass the search term and also the command mode. Okay, so we're gonna say results, the semantic interpretation, the properties, and we want race, right? And then we want the first one that matched race. Also, we're gonna pass, this is a bit too long. Let me copy, create another place to hold that information. We're gonna call this semantic prop. Okay, let's hold it there. And let's copy now and replace this long name, the shorter one. That looks a little bit better, right? So now we're gonna copy this. The second one will be command mode. Okay. So now let Visual Studio create the method for us. We don't want to throw anything exception now. Let's just put a breakpoint there and rename this to search term, and then this one command mode. Alright, so we're gonna try to run it, but before we run, let's put a breakpoint here and here. So first I'm gonna wake up my phone here and go. First, the primer will be empty. Our code will not run. So let's come over here. Primary is empty because we didn't use speech. So let's move on. The code's not gonna run. So now I'm gonna try with the voice. Computer, who are the Bajorans?
Looking for the Bajorans.
Alright. So now the primary is not null or empty. Next, we're going to check the navigation mode. It's going to be new since we used voice. Now this code is going to run and the method will be called. So now the search term is Bajorans. That's what I was asking, right? And the command mode is voice. So let me show you what I'm talking about. If you type, then it's going to be text. Okay, let me do the text part. So let's go back here. I'm going to type, let's say, computer. Who are the Klingons? Right there. So it's not going to say anything back to me. Now the parameter is not null or empty, although I typed, I didn't speak, right? And also navigation mode will be new. This method will be called. Search term will be Klingons. Mode now is text. So this is how you know whether it was text or voice, so you can speak back when someone speaks to the application. Okay, so now we're going to take some actions on this search term and a command mode. So let's stop this. Let's remove the breakpoints. Now, I added some resources here into assets folder. I added this alien races.xml file. This has a list of races. Each race have a name, classification, and an image. And the images are also in the assets folder. I have 5 of them. Okay. So that's that. So now let's move on here. Before we actually get the race user was asking for, let's add a helper class here that will help us get the XML file I just show you and give back a list of races. So I'm gonna add class into the helpers folder. I'm gonna call this race helper. Okay, I'm going to make this public static, and this class will have one method, and this method is also be public static. It's going to return list of races. It's going to get list from the XML file and give us list of races. So we're going to say list. We don't have this race class, so let's create this. We're going to create a new folder into the project. Add new folder. We're going to name this model. Into the model, I'm going to right click and add class. I'm going to call it race. It's going to be public. Oops, public. And we will add string name, and we're going to add another property. It's going to be also a string. It's going to be classification, and then one more. We're gonna name this image path. Okay, so we have this class image, the XML elements over there. It's name, classification, and an image path. Okay, I'm going to save and then close that. So now I have to bring in user statement to the folder I just created, the model folder. Okay, so this method we're going to call get races from XML, and it takes no arguments, right? So first we're gonna create a X document, and we're gonna add using statement to system.xml.link. We're gonna call this xdoc, X document that load. We're gonna load from the file, XML file. So that was assets. I think it's race, alien races. .xml. Alright, so now we have the X document here. So we're gonna go through each element, and the first element is race list, but we care about the race elements. We're gonna go through the race elements and add each item to a list. We're gonna create a list here. List of races. We're gonna call races. We're gonna new it up. Okay, so now we can go through this guy. We're gonna say for each race in xdoc that element, and the first element was race list, right? And then we wanted the races elements, so we're gonna say that elements this time. This will be the race element, right? So now we're gonna go through this and add it to this list. So let's say races that add new race. Let's terminate this line. So the first one will be name equals to race dot element, oops, and that is also name. We're gonna want the value of it. Elements, I don't want to say elements, I want to say element. So it's going to be name, the value. Okay, next one will be the classification. Also raise that element classification. Let's see. And that value. And then the last one is the image path. Also is going to be raise. Now equals to raise element as image. That value. So let me just make sure there was image in there. So yeah, it's image. Okay. Now we can return that. Now that's races. Cool. So now we're gonna go back to the main page and we're gonna call this method. We're not gonna add view model or anything. We're just gonna call it straight up. Okay. So in here we know what the user is looking for, right? So we're gonna say what is it, race helper. We just created. Now we need to add using the statement to helpers folder. Race helper is static, so we're gonna say get races from XML, and we're gonna set that to, let's create another variable here. We're gonna say selected race, or the user the one user asked for, right? We're gonna say it's whatever comes back from here. We're gonna say, because we're gonna get the list from there, so we're gonna say where that name. Let's make sure they match, the capitalization match. So we're gonna say, we're gonna make it lowercase. Let's move down here so you can see everything. Let's move this back. Equals to what the user looking for here, the search term. We're also gonna make sure that's lowercase. Okay, and we're gonna want to take the first one. That first or default. Okay. So this will be whatever the user is asking for. Okay, the race. And then we're gonna show that in the UI later on. So let me put a breakpoint here after this is called, and see how that goes. I'm gonna wake up my phone again. Let me show you my project, my screen deal here. So I'm gonna run it. First, nothing will happen until we ask for something. It's going to load, and nothing happens. So now we're gonna ask for a race. So we're gonna say, computer, who are the Klingons?
Looking for the Klingons.
So now we're gonna come over. We put a breakpoint there. Okay, see, this was what the user was asking for. Let's see if we have something. Yes, we have a race, and the race, this is classification of the Klingon race. We have the image path, and we have the name of the race. Cool, we are set. Now we're gonna show that. So let's do that. First, let's data bind the selected race to our UI. So let's come over here. We're gonna say this data context, and we're gonna set it to selected race. All right. So now let's go to the UI. We're gonna save this. We're gonna go to the main page here. I'm gonna select the grid, the main grid here. I'm going to go to the layout area, and I will add three rows. 1, 2, 3, and we're gonna make sure all of them are auto. 1, 2, and 3. So the first one will be the name of the race. The second one we're gonna add the image, and the last one we're gonna add the classification. And we also want to make sure that this scrolls up and down. So I'm gonna right click on the grid over here. I'm gonna say group into. You can see it. So let me just scroll up a little bit, move up a little bit here. So right click, group into, scroll viewer, and the scroll viewer makes the grid. Now when you group into it, it will give a height and width, so we don't want that. We're gonna remove that. We're gonna make it auto height and width. Okay, so now first we're gonna add our first text block, and that will be the one that holds the name of the race. Okay, so let's go back down here where the text area. We're gonna change the font family to, I can say this, Sego Windows Phone, and we're gonna change this to 40. Okay, we want it to be big, and let's center that horizontally. Okay, so that's what it looks like in the center. Okay, so the text will be data bound. Let me move this back again. So we're gonna say binding, and that will be the name. Okay, so now we're gonna add an image, and the image will be on the second row. So we're not gonna span more than one. We're gonna say it's gonna be row 1. Okay, and the image source, let's set the source. We can do it with the UI, so let's do it here. Let's move up here. Let's go to source here. I'm going to click this little button, create data binding. I'm going to say data context, and this will be image path. Okay, that's that. And let's make the image width arrow, and the height, let's make it 300. Okay, so that's that. And last one we're gonna add is the text box for the classification, and this text box will go into row 2, and we're going to change the font also to the same. Where is it? Let's make it the light one. See what happens, and make the font size to maybe 16. Let's see how that works out. Okay, so this one we're also going to bind this. We're gonna say binding, this will be the classification. Cool. Let's see what this looks like. We can change it if we like later on. So we're gonna wake up the phone again and run it. Let's see. First it's gonna load, but it's not gonna show anything, so we have to use our voice for this to take effect. We'll fix the rest of it later on. I'm gonna go computer, who are the Klingons?
Looking for the Klingons.
So let's see, it's gonna load. So we have the name on top, image, and we have classification of that race down here. Cool. Let's try another race. Computer, who are the Bajorans?
Looking for the Bajorans.
And now we have the Bajoran. This is kind of running to each other. Maybe I didn't put in the correct row. Let's go back and fix that. Let's see what's going on here. So we say this guy goes to, the name goes to row 0, image goes to row 1. We have this little negative margin, so we can move that. Let's add actually margin on top 10. Also the classification on the margin on top. And let's do one more time. Okay. Computer, who are species 8472?
Looking for the species 8472.
There we go. We have species 472, 8472. Cool. So next what we're going to do is we're going to actually speak back. We're going to read back this information when the user uses voice. We're going to read back the classification. Let's do that. Okay, let's go back to the code behind here. And first we want to know if the command mode is voice. So let's say if command mode is voice, and we also want to know if the selected race is null or not. So if it's null, we're not going to do anything. If not, then we're going to do that text to speech. Okay, so we're going to say selected race is not null. Those things are true. So let's say we're going to try to talk back. Before we do that, we're going to create a speech synthesis markup language, and that requires a header. Let me just show you. I'm going to copy from here. I have a copy of it. So let's create a string here. We're going to call SSML. I'm going to say string.format. We're going to format this in here, and this will not be this. This will be selected race dot classification. That's what we want to encode there. And let's terminate this line. Okay, let me show you what the header looks like. I'm gonna move this out of the way. So between the opening speak and the closing speak, we're gonna put the text we want to speak back encoded, HTML encoded. We're gonna put it in here. Okay, and this is legal header for the speech synthesis markup language. Okay, So the second thing we're going to do here is now we're going to take that markup language and make it speech out of it. To do that, we're going to need a speech. We're going to need speech synthesizer. So let's say speech synthesizer. I think that's what it is. Okay, yeah, and we're going to bring using Windows Media Speech Synthesizer here. We're going to call this synth. Okay, we're going to keep it right there. So now we're going to come over here. We're going to new it up first. Okay, and after that we're going to create stream here. We're going to say stream equals to synth dot synthesize SSML to stream async here. Okay, and then we're going to pass our SSML right there, and this we must wait, or else it's going to be different tab, and we're going to make the method mark method async. Okay, so now we have the stream. Next thing we want to do is we want to add a media player to the main page here. Okay, it's not going to be visible, it's just going to add it so it plays what we want. So let's go to the, let's put it in the grid here. It's not going to be visible, so we're going to say toolbox media player, media elements, that's what it's called, and we're going to make its size, we're going to make its size 1 by 1 because we don't care, we don't want to see it. We're not going to expand any rows. It's going to be top left. That is fine. And let's give this a name. We're going to call it media. Okay, we're going to save it and go back to the code behind again. So now we can say media that we can set the source to this. We're going to set it to the stream. Alright, so now we set the source, and we're going to say the content type is also he wants the content, so we're going to say it's going to stream that content type. Okay, so now the media is loaded, the source, all we have to do now is play. So let's say media that play. Also, let's add an event handle when the media ends. So we're going to say media ended, so we can make sure this the speech synthesizer is also null again, so we don't create multiple of them. Okay, when it ends, what we're going to do is we're going to say send this guy, we're going to set it to, okay, so that's cool. So let's see how this works. We're going to put a breakpoint here first, and then we're going to run. I'm going to wake up my phone and come over here and say go. So nothing happens first. So let's ask information about race. Computer, who are the Klingons?
Looking for the Klingons.
So let's see now. Command modes, now it's voice, so this will be true, and the race is not null, it's going to be true. So now we're going to start playing. So let's go. It's going to load.
The Klingons are a warrior race from the planet Konas in the Beta Quadrant. Proud, aggressive, and with an extreme high regard for tradition and honor, Klingons have a military orientation as far back as their historical records show, to be feared and respected on the galactic stage. Klingons have a genetic predisposition.
Okay, I'm not going to make you listen to the whole thing, so you get the points, right? So we can actually do another one. Computer, who are the Bajorans?
Looking for the Bajorans.
Alright.
The Bajorans are a humanoid civilization from the planet Bajor, located in the Alpha Quadrant. After the Cardassian withdrawal of Bajor.
So that works now. So now let's try the text one, because we're only going to speak back when spoken to, right? So let's go and do the text one. We're going to say, computer, who are the Klingons? So now it's going to go. It's not going to be voice anymore. It's not going to talk back anything. I'm not debugging right now, but if we can debug now, let's do that. So you can see what it looks like when you type your question there. I'm going to do the same thing. Computer, who are the Klingons? So now it's going to go, when we hit the breakpoint here now, the command mode is text. So this voice thing is not going to be run. Okay, this code won't run. And that's it. This is going to show. Cool. I hope you get something out of this. Bye bye.